Hello, everyone. I'm Tracy Lewis with We Are Winter Garden. I'm here with Pastor Scott, who is the president and CEO and founder of Matthew's Hope, along with Shelley Bradford, who is the vice president and executive director. We are on episode 25 of Straight Talk, No BS with Matthew's Hope. And today we're going to talk about outreach, a typical day at Brevard County campus. So, Shelley, before we get into what it looks like for the guests, the staff, and the volunteers on a typical day here, where are we? Because typically we are in Orange County, but today we're in Brevard County. So where are we?
So yeah, you might notice that our backdrop looks a little different.
It is lovely and
it is fun, right?
It is.
We're actually
vintage.
Yes, we're actually at, hopefully I say it right, Trinity Oaks at Matthew's Hope.
Of Matthew's Hope, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so this is a new...
You give her a break.
Yes, yes. This is a venue that we have that we can use to, create income to put back into the ministry. So people can have weddings here. We can have concerts here. So this room that we're actually specifically in is the groom's room, but we would also use it as a green room as well.
Okay.
Well, we want to forget also that that's attached to a sanctuary that sits 400 people.
Wow.
So we have a beautiful area set up there with large screen TVs and a stage and everything you need to put on a really cool event. And it really is, not just because it's ours. It's pretty gorgeous.
It is
And
nice.
stained glass windows and stuff are just something to look at and a lot of fun just to go through.
Definitely beautiful. So outreach days, how many days a week is outreach days for Brevard County?
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Tuesdays and Thursdays. And how many staff and volunteers do you have do you need to operate that?
So over here, working outreach, don't we have about 10 staff members?
Yeah.
And then volunteers, it really varies.
Okay.
Anywhere from, it really just depends on the groups that come in. We could have as little as 5 to 10 volunteers, as well as we could have groups that come in that brings it up to 20.
Gotcha.
But it looks like a lot of people, but those people are here specifically for one situation.
Gotcha.
We also really effectively here also use a lot of our guests that are in the Moving Forward program, working for Points, working for Pastor Bucks. So there's a lot of gray shirts working on property. I think here in Brevard, we got about a dozen people right now that are working towards something, whether it's housing, whether it's we have a couple people paying off some fines, some old debt. We have a person that just got their dentures in the last week or so.
Glasses.
That's great.
Not everyday glass. So yeah, it's
okay.
We could easily use another 20 volunteers on any given day.
Okay. And how many guests do you typically serve on an outreach day?
It's gone up to like 135, 140 some days.
Yeah.
Wow. And you said that's growing every single week.
Yes.
Yeah. So I've been on a constant, our lowest time of every month is the beginning of the month, because that's when, if anybody gets any kind of benefits, their food stamps, what have you, that's the least amount of need. But we're even going over 100 now in those days. Those used to be kind of our little break.
Right. Where we could just.
Yeah. You can almost breathe and get through the day. And those days are kind of gone now.
And how do they get here? If they're homeless and they're not within walking distance, how are they able to get here? Or do they just all walk here?
So this is where I'm not as familiar. We don't have public transportation over here like they do in.
Oh yeah. No, they actually have better transportation.
Oh, do they? Oh, okay. So that's where I'm not as familiar.
Yeah. Public transportation. Of course, many have bikes, but just like in Orange County, we have 2 buses that go out. We run routes that they know we're going to be in the area at a specific time to pick them up and bring them in for the services they're going to receive, and then we tell all the people all the time, we're not an Uber service. We're going to return you where we found you.
Sure.
I don't care where you might want to go. You're going back to where we found you.
And how far do you guys travel out to pick them up?
I want to say it's, I don't clock it per se, but I can tell you the area. I'm guessing it's probably about a 10-mile radius.
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably about right. Maybe a little bit more in some places.
And what does an outreach day look like? I know I've come to volunteer in Orange County to help serve food, but it's so much more than that. So for those of us who have no idea what outreach days even mean, take us from beginning through the process where the guest goes.
Sure. The first thing that they do when they get here is they take a number like you do when you go to Publix to buy deli meat.
Okay.
And because we just don't want to rush when people come in. And as well as we want people just to kind of relax and know that they're going to get served. And then somebody, typically it's one of us or, the campus directors will stand out there and call the numbers. And so then people will know and they'll know how long it is until they're going to be served. Mm-hmm. And then from there, they'll come in and they'll check in, and then they'll tell whoever is at the front desk at the registration what it is they need for the day. Mm-hmm. And then from there, they put it into our little square system, and it prints all over the campus of what the services they need, and then that gets put in order for them as well.
Okay.
So like if somebody needs to go shopping, let's say there's 10 people that go shopping, so they go in order.
Okay.
And we do the best we can to do first come, first serve as much as possible.
There's no cattle call type of thing.
No.
Right.
I think you see a lot of places. And the other thing we do is we are very conscious of if people are going, like the other day, we had a single mom with her 11-year-old son.
Okay.
Needed to get him to school. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I brought them right in, got him showered, got him fed, had mom get him off to school, and then come back for her services, and told her that when she got back, she didn't have to get back in line.
Right.
I would put her right to the front of the line.
Gotcha.
If they have jobs, which many of the people we serve here have work. So we try to get them in and out first. And sometimes people grumble about that, but it's kind of like, well, if you got a job, I'll do the same for you.
Sure.
Right.
And keep in mind too, if it's the first time they're here, then they're also going to start their intake process. And that's when they get their badge made. They're assigned an MH number so that they can receive their mail here. And then we track everything from then on. That's where the relationship building starts.
Mm-hmm. Shelley, you mentioned that they come and they check in and they go, or you guys figure out what their needs are. Scott, can you elaborate a little bit more about where they're going to do all of these things?
Yeah. I mean, what happens, they'll first come to the outreach center. That's where they do the basic check-in. And like I was stating, is they've never been with us before. That's when we first do the intake, their picture, and set up their ID and what have you, because everybody here, once they've checked in, is going to have a lanyard on with their picture and their number, with their name. And we don't use their street names. If you're Mr. Stinky on the road here, if you're Bob, you're going to be Bob, or Robert if you prefer. And then what happens as they sit there with their registration each time, that person is going to ask them about specific needs that day. So in other words, do you need laundry done today? Okay, and they put that in and they collect the laundry. Are you going to need a haircut today or a manicure? And they'll put that in. Are you going to need any hygiene or clothing? Yes, you need to see a personal shopper, so they put that in. Are you going to need to see medical? Anything you can think of, or maybe you see somebody in the office about food stamps or a phone or a legal issue, what have you.
Okay.
All that is processed in and a value tied to it also. So at the end of the day, I get a receipt, if you will, long receipt, longer than what you get at CVS, and it tells you everything that was done, the value. But when we're putting that in, what Shelley's talking about, it shoots all over the campus so they know that someone's coming down to medical and here's why they're coming.
Okay.
Staying within HIPAA guidelines, we give them some insight.
Sure.
If we're sending for a haircut. And then what happens at each of those places, there's somebody that will receive them to sit down with them. A couple of things we do very differently than everybody else is this isn't you ask, you receive. That's not how this works. When you sit down with a personal shopper, you have a budget. And in that budget, each time you come, you have to decide what do you most want or need. So give you an example. They get 10 points to start out with. It's like $10 each time they come. They can sit there and they go, okay, I know I need a new T-shirt, and that's 3 points. I need deodorant, that's 2 points. So they do that, and that's being put in. Okay. Now, if they ask for something that they could easily be doing laundry with, we're going to typically limit that to them. So try to find out what happened with the other, because why should we be giving you clothes each time you're coming if we're doing laundry for you?
Right.
Okay. And we're folding it and having fresh laundry for you. So we put a lot of responsibility back on them. And then once that's done, and they can sit down and at that point, we'll let them have some cereal, maybe a Danish or something like coffee. And then what happens, that personal shopping order goes back to fulfillment. And think of Amazon. We were Amazon before Amazon was Amazon. There's pickers back there.
Okay.
And they're walking around, they're picking the orders. Okay. And they're filling that thing. And then once that order is filled, that's then taken to the shower room. And there's a male and female side, 6 on each side. And what happens once those fresh clothing, those hygiene items they want arrive there, then we radio back up to Outreach Center and say, send Scott Ballou over. And so Scott comes over, he meets them at the window, he gets his towel, he gets his bath mat, his washcloth, and he's given his bag of fresh clothing.
Okay.
Okay. And then he's assigned to a shower. The reason we assign a shower is because we want to know who's coming and going,
Right.
in case there's any kind of vandalism or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But also, between each shower, we have someone that goes behind them and sprays it with an antimicrobial.
Okay.
So we're not passing off athlete's foot or anything like that. And they're scrubbed down, and then the next person can come in. Once they get that, then they're given a purple wristband. Once you have a personal wristband, now you can go back in the outreach center and you can have a hot meal.
Okay.
Sometimes that will look like sausage and gravy or eggs and bacon and pancakes. Sometimes it's egg casserole. I mean, it's a pretty hearty meal. And then while you're doing that, you can then get called to go and do your haircut or your pantry shopping at the Garden of Eden pantry shop. Again, you're given a budget.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want with the points that you have? So you have 10 points for that. If you bring your laundry bag back, the canvas bags we have to buy, we give you an extra point. That way we assure they don't get is tumbling out there like tumbleweeds. So you bring it back and we give you a point back for that. So you can say, what do you want you to use that extra point for in your clothing, hygiene, or food? And then we put that in there for them so they can get something like that. And then they go in there and they choose the items that they want to eat.
Okay.
Because often what happens is we don't even give people the dignity of asking them what they want to eat.
Right.
And then people wonder why they see stuff thrown away.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm allergic to seafood, I'm probably not going to eat tuna. Mm-hmm. If I hate tuna and I get it every place I go all the time, I probably don't want any more tuna. Okay. So we give them options they can have. And there's a lot of different options that are all typically pre-cooked because, again, these people are living, they really aren't even living in the woods anymore. Most of the woods are gone in both Orange County and Brevard County due to development. So they're typically behind buildings. They're wherever. They're wherever. So they got to be able to eat right out of that. And so if they don't get the purple band on and they haven't showered, guess what? You aren't getting those fresh clothing. And I always compare it to, I had daughters, thank God. So I had sons, they'd all be dead right now probably. But those of you that have had sons, teenage boys love to play basketball, throw on a little Axe and go on a date. Okay. And it's like, dude, you smell like BO with a hint of Axe. And so, our goal is to hide you in plain sight to make you less noticeable. So we want to make sure I tell them, I'm going to do the sniff test. So I do the sniff test and I find something. My alter ego, Pastor Pissy's going to come out. You really don't want to mess with him. He's the old street kid. He's going to have words with you. But we go through this process again. There's a lot of give and take and responsibility on their part. They've got to bring their laundry back. They've got to include. They've got to, they check their bag in, which I forgot to tell you. When they first get in, they check their bag in, bags and belongings, and that way, that's all under surveillance, so nothing comes up missing. And if they want to have their phone charged or some other type of, if they have an iPad or something, which some do, we have a charger, a big decking charger. Our charging deck, and they check it in. We put their name on a piece of tape and put that on there, and we charge it for them. And when they get ready to check out, they check out, take all this stuff with them. So it's not laying all over the room. They're not plugged in wherever. So the whole idea behind,
and then it can't get stolen.
Well, yes, and of course we have on this campus we have 45 cameras on property with facial recognition at 300 feet. You really don't want to steal from us. Okay, we're sitting there watching all the time, but we can go back and say, We've been very blessed that we've had very little issues, but a few of the issues we've had have been where somebody thought somebody stole something from them, and what in fact happened is they left it sitting there. And we went back to the time camera and said, no, here, you just laid that right there. It's still there. Or one of the guys picked it up, put it in the back room so no one would steal it. I tell people, if I find something, it's mine till you ask for it.
Your system seems very put together and well thought out. It might have taken a while to get that far. Did you have any challenges?
Well,
changes.
The one thing about us is, first, we've never been afraid to. It's a weird way of saying this, but we're never afraid to shoot something between the eyes. If it's not working, it's not working. Quit forcing it. Typically, what happens is we always are watching the ripple effect. When we do this, we know that we drop a stone, it's going to splash. But when that ripple effect goes out, what happens then? So every type of thing that we do here, we track that ripple effect and say, Shelley and I will sit down with some of our team and go, well, we kind of thought it was going to go this way, but it kind of went that way. How do we shift it, or do we get that all together?
Yeah.
And so we really are constantly looking at that. And because of the way we're funded by the, bulk of the funding is general public, is we're able to turn on a dime, which 99% of the organizations out there can't. What they're funded for has to be that way, whether it's working or not.
Mm-hmm.
If we look at it, we say that is a waste of our donors' money. We're being a bad steward of this money.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to switch it right then. And not always to everybody's liking.
Mm-hmm.
And there's people that get upset because we run such a tight ship. And I'm not talking about our guests. In fact, most of them end up appreciating it.
Yeah.
But we do have donors sometimes that think we have too many strings attached. And we try to, or volunteers, yes. New volunteers. I can't believe you're making them do. Well, our goal again is to create independence and self-sustainability. And the homeless actually call it learned helplessness.
Yes.
They named it that.
Yeah.
And it's just the fact that if you bring everything to me, why do I got to get up and do anything?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there going, your mom is not here.
Yeah. Shelley, you talk a lot about dignity. How or why is it important to give guests choices?
Mm-hmm. So in our Garden of Eden pantry, we actually do give out something called pasture bucks.
Okay.
And with those pasture bucks, it is backed by real dollars. And it is, we typically, if you're brand new, you get, is it 20 or 25?
You know what? I'd have to look at it. I think, first time it's more.
It's more. And then every time you come back, you get 10 pasture bucks.
Okay.
And those, then that way you take that dollar, and it sounds silly, but you actually physically take that dollar to our pantry and you shop. And then you pick out what it is that you want instead of us giving you a bag of items you may not eat.
Okay.
And then those dollars get recycled back and used again over and over again.
Okay.
If you can think of, when we talk about the Garden of Eden food pantry, think of it as a small store.
Okay.
Okay. It's not a convenience store because it's not just all junk and stuff like that, but it's a small grocery store that has an area of soups and has an area of different meats and vegetables and
pastas
and fruits, and different proteins and what have you, and different snacks and what have you. And so you have that budget to work with, and you actually check out just like you're checking out at a store.
Okay.
And we actually show you the true value of what you're getting also. And the reason we do that is we want you to understand this stuff does not grow on trees. We always are telling people, look, there's donors out there that have made this possible. And the beauty of that also is that where I can tell you just again from my own homeless experience, what you would see someone do, they get like, other people call them blessing bags. And they give them this bag full of stuff, and then the homeless person gets away from there because they never like to say no because maybe someone will be offended they said no, or they will never get somebody to say yes again. So they just take it, and then they get around the corner and they do this.
Oh, yeah.
And they go, excuse me, this is what I need. So we're taking that step out of it and going, you tell us when you're doing shopping for your food and hygiene, or excuse me, your hygiene and clothing, you tell us. And when you're in the food pantry, you get to go ahead and hand pick what you want. And, if you want to eat Spam, the next few nights in a row, then get a bunch of Spam. It's completely up to you. If there's a particular type of fruit you like or a vegetable you enjoy, you've got a selection, just like in a store, there's probably 5 to 10 different types of fruits and vegetables you can get and different types of pastas.
Okay.
The thing that bothers me the most, again, is that we can do more fresh stuff, but they don't have, two things I hear all the time is, you don't do high nutrition food. Yes, that's true. It's not because we don't want to. It's damn near impossible. The other thing I often hear is the fact that, well, the big cans are only a couple pennies more.
Right.
Well, you're thinking like someone who lives in a house.
True.
We want the single serves, preferably with the pop top. They can eat it and be done with it and throw that away. Because often, and it happens way too often, where someone will try to save it, and two things happen. Either the raccoons or rats come and get it. Now you've invited those into your area. Or number two, it's gone bad overnight. You really can't tell until you've eaten it. Yeah. And now you're finding yourself running to a toilet that you can't get into.
Yeah.
And it happens all the time. And so we really try to, as part of the podcast has always been try to educate and try to explain why. There's a reason behind everything we do. It's not like
There's a method to your madness, Scott.
Yeah. I don't just sit up at night and go, gee, I think I'll do this to mess with people.
Just to mess with
You know.
Well, really?
Sometimes maybe, if I'm honest. Sometimes maybe, no. But I really try to think it out. And again, I bounce it off Shelley if I come up with an idea. I bounce it off the board sometimes, poke holes in this. What's wrong with my thinking here?
Sure.
And then, quite honestly, there's people that come to me on occasion and say, hey, have you considered this? And I'm going, gosh, we haven't.
Nice.
Because I just didn't see it or just never thought about it before.
Questions come in.
Yeah, that's where the questions are so beneficial, because it's not like, I've been doing this 20 years. And, 14 is Matthew's hope. And I'm learning every day.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I know in my 60s now is that I know less today than I knew yesterday. But we're open to learn, and I encourage Shelley and my staff to, constantly. Our thing is do it with excellence or don't do it at all.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? Well, sometimes it's as simple as looking at the choices we're making to make choices available to our guests. What can we do to make them feel more human? What can we do to feel more dignified? To feel like they're participating in the recovery of their life. And that's a big deal for us, because if we aren't doing that, then what do we do it?
Right.
Nobody's going to starve in Central Florida. I guarantee you. There's plenty of places to eat. That is just a piece of what we do. But if we're going to do it, let's do it with dignity. Let's do it with responsibility. This is on you. How are you going to spend your money? If you got $10 in your pocket, okay, you can run down to McDonald's and you can get a $4 fry, hamburger and Coke, and you're about down with your $10.
Yeah.
Or you can take that and you can sit there and go, hey, I can get 2 cans of soup. I can get 2 Spams. I can get a Vienna sausage, whatever, and then feed yourself over a couple of periods, a couple times throughout the week.
That doesn't mean people can take our Pastor Bucks and go to McDonald's.
No, they can't. Though I did see there's a place in Winter Garden that our Pastor Bucks are up on a restaurant wall, like somebody that hangs money.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have Pastor Bucks. The place that we met with with Parker, from the CEO of Advent Health.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually a pastor. So somebody took it at one time.
Okay.
But yeah, no, they can use it there and be a part of like I said, what they're able to do. And it means a lot, but it's also teaching them how to budget. Yeah. The other thing I'll tell you, people say, well, $10 isn't a lot. Well, it's twice a week. Most bring the bag back. So they got $21 for those things they need. And then we're here to supplement your food stamps, not replace them. If you're really good with food stamps, it'll cover about 85% of your needs. If you're great at budgeting, it will not take care of all your needs. And that's how we came up with that number. And to be honest, we used to do a little bit more. The challenge we have had over the last few years since the beginning of the pandemic is we're paying 30 to 40% more for food than we were just 3 years ago.
We didn't pay for food as much.
We never bought food
either. Yeah.
Prior to the pandemic. We never paid for food. We never paid for hygiene. We never paid for clothing. But when we went through that 500% growth spurt in the first several months of the pandemic, though our donor base has always grown, what we have found is the average donation went down. And because people themselves didn't have as much discretionary income. If you're spending 30 to 40% more, you're paying more for your electric, you're paying more for rent, you can't share it in that. And I don't know many people that got a 30, 40% raise.
Right.
Okay. If they did, it wouldn't have changed anything for us. And I think that's one reason why, if you've noticed on television, you're going to see the big nonprofits advertising so much. They're going through the same stuff we're going through. The difference is they can afford to appeal to you with Sarah McLachlan singing in the background and with a black one-eyed dog and, the booger in the hair. I mean,
it's great visual.
They can put this visual together and grab your heart. And we don't have that ability. So we depend on the people to understand our grassroots and the fact that your donations stay right here in our community. We don't, even Brevard and Orange County do not share our resources. We raise money for Orange, we raise money for Brevard. And so literally you're partnering with us in your own backyard. Something I just realized is that a lot of people probably don't understand when I say we never had to buy this, that, or the other thing. Right. And what I mean by that is the fact that we had so much coming in prior to that happening. We just didn't have to use those resources. Where today, a large portion of our money that we have to raise is going for basic services. So one has made us even a better steward, but we've also had to say no more often to some things because you can't give what you don't have.
Right.
And so when people hear us talking about money in that, which is uncomfortable for everybody, it really is saying, this is what we do, this is how we do it, and this is the return you should be able to expect from us.
Definitely. Shelley, do you only serve the guests on outreach days here, or do you guys go out to the field?
We actually serve guests almost every day.
Okay.
On Monday and Wednesdays, we go out into the field.
Okay.
And a lot of times, every time, the objective is to go out and find new guests.
Okay.
And to see, who are we missing? Who can we serve? We try to make sure that we only serve new guests on those days as best as possible.
Gotcha.
Or guests that cannot, should not come in as well. We do have some guests that, are not able to come on campus for various reasons, sexual offenders and things like that.
Okay.
And then, on Tuesday and Thursday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then when people come in on Fridays, we're definitely not going to turn them away. We also don't want a free for all and everybody showing up whenever they want, but because we still have to conduct business. I mean, This is still a business that we have to still run.
Now, in Brevard, we also, so you're aware of this too, is that in Brevard, we do a Wednesday night dinner now. And the only time we do anything more than dinner is if is an emergency situation or you're a new guest. But we're serving around 50 for dinner on Wednesday evenings. And then we started a men's Bible study probably about 2 months ago now. And that's up already over 30. And so that ended up turning into breakfast, Bible study, and showers. So the ladies' Bible study is going to start here this month. And so we will be feeding more people, doing more showers, and offering more services. And now you're thinking of the fact that they've got several opportunities now to get the things they need and to stay fresh and feeling good about themselves. And when they feel good about themselves, it changes how people treat them. It
changes how they treat people.
And how they treat each other. Yeah.
How much does a typical outreach day cost for Matthew's Hope?
It's running between, per location per day, it's between 15 and 20,000. That's only, and I want to stress, this is not our overhead. This isn't insurance, rents, vehicle, gas, any of that stuff. This is simply only for our guest food pantry, hygiene, and clothing.
Medical.
And our medical. Yeah. And that medical portion of that was a small part. It's growing exponentially as we're able to do more. So the bulk of that is I'd say 80 to 85% of that right now is food, clothing, hygiene.
So what can the community do to help you guys bring that cost down for you? Can we donate items, or is it best to donate money? Is it best to donate time? How can we help?
Yes.
Yes, all.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. They can do all that. Well, obviously for us, and it makes some people uncomfortable, obviously the money is the easiest part because then we can use it wherever our greatest need is.
Right.
Because there may be one day where I'm sitting on 200, things of pasta, and tomorrow I don't have any. It also, but the other side of it is we publish at least a couple times a week very specific needs in the way of food, clothing, and hygiene.
And where can people find that?
And they can actually look at our Facebook pages.
Okay.
We have a separate one for both Brevard and for Orange County. That way we can show our specific needs in each area, specific stories. Sometimes we share stories from both sides, but we try to keep it very specific to the areas so that people can see what their investment in Matthew's Hope is getting them. When they see the guy who looked clearly homeless, looked like a serial killer when they came, and all of a sudden they find out he's a really sweet soul. Once you took all that hair away and got him cleaned up, and or they got their new teeth,
got their dentures, right,
or had that shower. That what's very interesting for me, and I think where we see most of the tears shed around here for both men and women, is when you see the homeless women, which is about 30% of those we serve, when they get their hair cut and gets blown out, and it's been layered, and they've been able to get a shower and fresh clothing, and you'll hear comments. The one this just resonates with me all the time, and I can't get out of my head, is when they spun the chair around to the mirror, and she says, "I haven't seen that girl in a very long time," and the tears went down her face. And that was so cool because we learned that she was actually going for a job interview later that day. So it was the double whammy.
Yeah.
You know, put her in a much better position to present herself to go to work. So that was a big deal.
Wow. Thank you guys so much. Listen, there's so many different ways we can help as a community, whether you can, donate consistently every single month, whether it's a one-time. We encourage consistently, whatever you can do.
Yeah. Sustaining donors, for sure.
Sustaining donors, individual food, cup things, clothing, your time, but most importantly, like you guys mentioned, go to their Facebook pages, Matthews Hope, Orange County, Brevard County, to see specific needs that they have, or just give them a call and they can let you know. Like, subscribe, share this. That's why we're here, is to educate and to be able to help other people, because we're all, whether we're homeless or not, we're all people. So
Tracy,
let's help each other.
And on those, not only do we give a list, we actually show pictures.
Okay, great.
To make it easier for people. When I say what a single serve looks like, they get a clear picture of it, because
Definitely.
we want to make it as simple for somebody to either, go to our Amazon. We have an Amazon link.
Okay.
So we have people ship to us and then go right there. We try to update that on a regular basis. And then other people like to bring it by themselves. And if we know they're coming and we can give them a tour as well when they come, we'd love to do that.
Wow, that's great. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for everything. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next episode.
Thanks.
Bye.